Okay, welcome to the Plaistow Selectmen's Candidates Forum. This is an event we try to have every year, and it's designed to give people in Plaistow a chance to get to meet the candidates and to make their determination of who they're going to support and vote. The election is going to be on March 14th. It's Tuesday. The polls are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Gives everybody plenty of chance to come out and vote, and we really hope that you come out and support the candidate of your choice. And we'll just start off by introducing who the candidates are. We have running for office this year Linda Guy, Barbara Hobbs, George Melvin, Carlene Sarty, Michelle Conti, Robert Gray, and Dale Lafayette. What we thought we would do is start off by giving each candidate just a short period of time to introduce themselves and let people of Plaistow know who they are. Linda, do you want to start?
Hi, my name's If you don't know me, you'll see me in town. I've been here for 12 years. I work for Lucent Technologies. I'm a single woman, single mother. And I believe in getting involved. And if I don't like the way things are done, I believe in throwing my ring in the hat and going for it.
Okay. Welcome. Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Hobbs. I'm seeking re-election. I've been in town since 1982. I'm married, mother of 3 children. I got involved the first time for somewhat of the same thing. I had some issues. I wanted to get involved, see how I could help. I'm seeking re-election to continue working on the rec, relocating the district court site, and keep working for the people. Thank
Great.
you.
George Melvin.
Good morning, Bill. My name is George Melvin. I'm seeking my 3rd term as a member of the Board of Selectmen. I'd first like to take the opportunity to thank Bill Verge and the Cable Committee for putting this forum on this morning. We appreciate it, as well I'm sure the rest of the candidates do. My goal is to continue doing exactly as I have been doing, dealing with issues, bringing them to the forefront, as has my co-worker here, Barbara, and making sure everybody has their voice heard equally and fairly.
Great. Carlene Sarty.
Hi. I've lived in Plaistow since I was 2 years old. I have 1 son, currently the general manager of Grandfield Sports Complex. Been involved with the recreation department for the past probably 16 years off and on, and was just resigned as being the recreation director for the town. And I really want to see Plaistow move forward. We have a lot of good people, a lot of good things happening, and let's make and take full advantage of that.
Great. Michelle Conti.
Hi, my name is Michelle Conti. I'm 47 years old. I have 2 children, a daughter 16, a son 14. This is my first one. My 2 greatest strengths are my leadership skills and my ability to develop and maintain good working relationships. I feel that these are 2 skills that I would like to bring to the administration and ultimately to the people of Plaistow.
And Bob Gray.
Hi, I'm Bob Gray. I'm 30 years old. I'm single. I live up on Crane Crossing Road. Been a resident of the town for 10 years, and I am the current chairman of the planning board.
Great. And our 7th candidate is Dale Lafayette, and Dale asked me to read something on his behalf. Dale wanted to start by apologizing to his fellow candidates and the residents of the town for not being able to be here today. Unfortunately, today's one of Dale's work days, and he's made a commitment to his employer to work on the scheduled days. He hopes that his fellow candidates and the residents will respect him on this issue. Dale is running for selectman for a few reasons. He believes that the board has not listened to the residents of the town, and he believes that the board has not been respectful of one another, and it has in fact fragmented the board. Dale believes that the board has lost respect for the residents of the town. There's several things that Dale wants to accomplish if he's fortunate enough to be elected, but 2 very specifically. Dale wants to enact a code of ethics, and he wants to make sure that he listens to the residents. So those are our 7 candidates. We thought we'd get started by having some questions, and we're going to start off with a general question. We'll start off with you, Linda. The question is that we're always struggling with the Plaistow District Court here in town. That's been an issue that's been ongoing, and the struggle has been to maintain the district court in town. And the question that people have been asking me, how does the town benefit by having the district court? Is it something we really want? Is that a battle we want to fight? Is it an advantage for the town? And just what's your take on that?
I think the first thing we should do is listen to the people of the town and ask the people of the town what they really want. That's initially what our responsibility would be as a selectman, to,
Well, do you think that we should have the Plaistow District Court?
I see some advantages of having that here. I prefer to have it here. But whether it's fallible or not, there's a lot of research. I have not researched it myself, and I need to do that before I make a decision on that.
Okay, Barbara, what's your position on district court?
My position is it should stay in town if it doesn't cost the taxpayers to have court in town. We are currently looking at the old library site and revamping it so that it would stay. The problem with the court now is that it's currently in town hall. It's a parking problem. It's accessibility. It's been an ongoing, it's been, I believe, almost 10 years that we've taken various sites, and if it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money to have it here, I'm supportive of it, but if it's going to cost us, then relocating it would be an option.
Okay. George Melvin?
I'm an advocate of keeping the court in town. I've been involved it has been definitely makes available the police officers time to quickly get in and out of the court situations rather than traveling to another community or further distance. It helps the businesses within the community to be able to deal locally and quickly and effectively with their problems, with the issues they have to bring in front of the court system. And it also adds to the community itself as a whole. People do come to the courthouse to do business. Some of it always not as nice as they'd like to have it be, but when they're here, they shop in our stores, they buy gasoline in our town, they are spending revenue here. So it has some definite advantages. And I will reiterate Barbara's statements. Yes, it's cost effectiveness. If it's going to cost the taxpayers money, then it becomes cost prohibitive. We don't know that to be the case. We're trying to do exactly that. Maintain it, keep it here in town at a cost effectiveness.
Great. Carlene Sarty?
I too also believe that the court should stay in Plaistow without going through or having, done a lot of research on it. One of my biggest concerns would be for the police department and them having to make a lot of travel time going to all different places. Plaistow is growing. We have the need for the court here because of everything, between the crime rate, between everything. It's just a lot easier for them. The old library site, if that works, that is ours, so it wouldn't be cost prohibitive. So I would say, yeah, if we can do it.
Great. Michelle Conti, do you have any thoughts on the library?
Yeah, I agree without having any background on what the cost is going to be. What should remain in Plaistow, and the old library site is the perfect location.
Great. Bob, do you think we should keep it now?
Yes, I do. And you can be assured that from what I understand, it will cost the town money up front to keep that facility here in the town. But as long as that I'm a selectman, that the town will get back money from the state that we have to put up front to keep that facility here. As other people have mentioned, it is a benefit for the police department to have it here in town and not having to leave for Salem or Kingston or other points. It keeps officers in town. So there's a cost savings attached to that I think is a benefit for the town.
Great. As with any town, when you look at our town budget and what's happening in town, there's always good news and bad news. The good news is that our tax rate has dropped. It's dropped over the past several years. Specifically in the last 2 years, I can see where it's dropped about 20%, and that's very positive news. The bad news is that last year our budget for the town was $3.77 million. The proposed budget for 2000 is $4.24 million. That's almost an increase of $500,000. It might be one of the largest increases we've had. So I thought that maybe we could discuss, do we need everything that's in the budget? Maybe we could review some of the warrant articles, and all of you have different expertise on some of these warrant articles, so we thought we would lead with the people that seem to have the particular expertise in that area, and see if there's ways that we could revamp some of those things, if there's a way to save money, and maybe there isn't. So we thought we would start off with the first one. One of the more interesting issues is should we hire 2 full-time firefighters / EMTs with a first-year annualized cost of about $90,000. Now in the budget you're going to see it's 45, but that's really six months. So we're talking the annualized budget is about $90,000 for the 2 full-time firefighters, and they're going to be certified as EMTs as well. I thought we'd start off with Linda Guide, who is a volunteer firefighter in town, and might have some thoughts, and then we'll just go around the board. Linda?
I support that one, and I support it, because oftentimes in our volunteer fire department, we have men and women who work, and they work out of town. So when the call comes in during the day, we don't have people here to respond to that, and we need to do that. Running a full-time department, a total full-time department, would cost you a lot of money. The budget would just go out to the roof. But to have those two people there, and with the volunteers responding, we could cover the issue. That's the whole issue. We need to cover the town, people who need us, car accidents, fires.
Are we not covering it now?
We are covering it, but we're getting away with the skin of our teeth. I think we really do need it. The town's growing.
Right.
We have more facilities. We need to cover the town. That's our responsibility. So there are things that we need, and there are things that we want.
Right.
I feel this is a need.
Okay, thank you. Barbara?
I support the warrant article. I was surprised when it came forward. I would like to have seen that we had a structure plan on how we're going to implement new full-time employees. However, in talking to the fire personnel, that was their concern. Some of them are having a difficult time leaving their jobs who are locally in town. And the question has arisen, what would happen if they can't? So public safety is first, so that's why I support it.
Great. George, do you have an opinion?
Well, yes, you actually had two questions. One was relative to the budget itself, and it has gone down over the last 4 years, not just the last 2 years, and it has been significant. And if all of the articles and the budget are passed, you're looking at a considerable 20-plus increase in the budget. You're right. We have a responsibility as selectmen to bring issues forth and put them on the table, as well as at the budget committee, and then it's up to the voters to decide whether they can afford it or not. I support the position of a full-time fire department. We need to start it somewhere. We're starting it small with 2 people. How that plays out, the voters will determine that. I'm not sure 2 people are enough. Maybe we need 4 people. There are other issues. Those will come down the line. Will it grow? Absolutely. There's no question in that. They're doing the job, and they're doing a fine job. Whether it's by the skin of their teeth or whatever, I commend them. The boys are doing a great job out there. So I can only say to the voters out there, look at what it's going to cost you, look at your pocketbooks, look at all the issues. We've looked at all of them, and every time we tried to deal with cutting back on an issue, on monies, it became the need, the safety. And we have a responsibility to put that need and safety question into the hands of the voters. Do you want it? Can you afford it? We'll do that. It's up to you to get out there on Tuesday, on the 14th, and vote. And vote what your conscience and what your mind tells you, and what your pocketbook tells you.
Great. Carlene, would you prioritize this as something important for you for supporting the 2 full-time firefighters?
Absolutely. I had the unpleasant opportunity to have the Plaistow Fire Department at my parents' house. And at the same time, so the chief left again with many good hands were right there. But that was just one first-hand thing where there were 2 calls at one time. Mm-hmm. And how did they handle that? If you had been in Plaistow 25 years ago, 30 years ago, you could ride up and down the street. In that time frame, also required is 1 full-time person on our fire department. We've acquired a chief. Over the last 10 to 12 years, you look at what Plaistow has grown with, and we've still acquired nothing in that department. We've acquired a full-time chief. There's a few things that we need, and one of them right now, we have to have a full-time, I'm not a full-time, but we have to support the police department and the fire department because we need these people. These people are very important to us.
Michelle, have you any thoughts on 2 full-time firefighters and EMTs?
I don't think that, well, public safety should not be jeopardized, and we are a fast-growing town, and I have to believe that if this was even suggested or brought up in the background, I have to believe that there's got to be a need for it, and that public safety it will be jeopardized if you don't have it. So yes, I would support that.
Well, you're not going to take a contrary position, go out there on your own, are you?
Unfortunately, I'm not going to take a contrary position to what has been stated already. I support the full-time firefighters' positions. I was wondering why the town decides why we didn't have full-time firefighters previously before this. I think we've done very well thus far, and I do have a plan that I want to do if I become a selectman, that I want to look at personnel and facility needs in the town as part of a build-out plan, looking what we need for police, fire, recreation, library, everything. And I think that on top of our capital improvements plan will be a great benefit, so that when these things come up, when personnel comes up and people ask for more people for help, it won't be a big surprise, because we'll know at this level we need these people to support the demand that we have in the town.
Great. So it looks like on that issue we have unanimous support for the firefighter, but I think it's important to note that those people would be qualified as an EMT as well, which is pretty important too for us. The next question that I thought was might be interesting is, should the town of Plaistow hire a police officer to place in the Timberlane High School? I had a chance to look at one of our local papers, had one of these little boxes where you all answered questions. And I looked through that, and I was surprised to see that pretty much everybody was undecided. And Barbara, I saw that you were undecided. I don't remember you being undecided on too many issues in the past. So I was wondering if you could start off with this and tell us why can't you decide whether we should have a full-time policeman that we pay for from town of Plaistow in the school at Timberlane High School?
The issue, and thank you, and when it came up to the school board, I did go and speak against it. And part of the problem that I have is at first the reporter wanted a yes or no, and it's not a yes or no answer. We are a district. So the funding issue is part of the problem, is would the school resource officer be a Plaistow employee or a district employee? And who decides? Does the town of Plaistow itself decide if it wants a school resource officer for a district, which is obviously the three other towns it takes into effect? There are so many variables of it, and I even said I think it's an unfair question because of the variables of it. It hasn't been studied enough to how it works in a district. If we were a single town and the people wanted it, by all means. On a mother note, I'm a little uncomfortable with thinking that I have an armed police officer going around where my son attends school, but his safety's first. If that's what it requires, I want him to be safe first.
So when you go into the voting booth, you're going to tell us how you're going to vote on that issue?
Well, it's not on there this year, so, but if I was to vote on it at this particular point, the answer would be no. If it's just for the town to decide for the district.
Okay. George?
I wasn't undecided, I said no. I'm not in support of it. I took the opportunity when the issue was first presented to us from the Board of Selectmen to speak with students in the middle school and the high school, and to speak with teachers, and also speak with counselors. They feel that as far as security and safety and education within the school, if they needed something along those lines, it would be more counselors to deal with possibly troubled children. It didn't do a bit of good to have police officers in the school in Columbine. There were still people killed all over the place. It didn't do a thing for this little child last week that shot another child. Police officers in the school can't be everywhere at every single solitary moment. The perspective from the children was kind of different. It's like, gee, we go to school, we have to go to our desk and sit there, and then we get up and we march around, and we march from one classroom to the next, we march to our recess areas, to our lunch areas and so forth, and we have hall monitors, and we have teachers watching over us constantly. Do we really need an armed police officer standing over us so that we have the feeling that we're in jail, we're not going for an education and for our health perspective? That seems to be the children's concept, and I think that's important. So I say no.
Okay. Carlene, do you have a position on that resource officer at the high school, funded by the town of Plaistow?
Again, when you had mentioned the newspaper, that was really difficult. Like Barbara had said, some of those questions were yes, no, or undecided, and there isn't a clear-cut answer. For one, Plaistow should not foot that bill. So on that issue, and I would fight that tooth and nails. I've fought tooth and nails before, along with Barbara, against things that Plaistow has had to foot the bill for, or then wanted them to. Just because the school is located in our town, we're all here. We're a community, we're a district, we're everybody. I'm in and out of the schools constantly. I always have been. Do I see the need right now for a full-time police officer in there? What I see as a parent, what I see as somebody working in the school is no. I would definitely want to see what their statistics are in there. If they're asking, or if the police department feels it's necessary, then I think we would really need to look at it and see what's going on and look at it that way. Not to make it, like for myself, I wouldn't want to make a judgment right now until I talk to somebody more. But if they asked me right now to vote on it, I would have to say no.
Michelle, do you have an
Yeah.
opinion on that?
Well, I was also undecided. Of course, my children's safety is my priority, and the Columbine issues, situations like that scare me to death. But I would also want to see justification, the statistics, why is this necessary, before voting either way. But
Okay.
as of right now, having two children in school, I don't see any for it.
Okay, Bob?
Again, I don't know how much more I can add what was said. The paper was pretty specific about saying yes, no, undecided. And for the reasons that were already stated, I said that I was undecided. I don't think any one of us here is qualified to make that determination of whether or not there should be an armed police officer in the schools. And that would have to be researched out. If the police chief came to the community and said, clearly this is needed and these are the reasons why, it'd be something that I would want to support. But then again, there's the funding issue also. Should Plaistow hire a full-time police officer? No, that should be shared between the 4 towns of the school district. So that's why I voted undecided. It is a real tragedy, children shooting children in school, and we really need to pay close attention to that. A 6-year-old shooting another 6-year-old. I mean, most of my friends have children that are that age now, and I just feel like, when I was in school, which was not that long ago, the biggest issue was chewing gum in class, and now we have kids carrying guns in the school. So it's something that needs to be looked closer at, and the determination will have to be made at a later date, I think.
No, you didn't chew gum when you were in school, did you, Bob?
I never broke any rules when I was in school, Bill.
One of the issues that has come up several times, and it was last year we had a specific plan
Bill,
on...
Linda.
Oh, Linda, I'm sorry. I thought
You
you
just
had...
skipped me, huh?
Oh.
You just want me out of here, huh?
Do you think we should have a police officer funded by the town of Plaistow in the Timberlane High School, Linda?
I'm going to do exactly what I would say, that funding issue had to be shared amongst, if we need it, in the resource. I don't believe we need it in the school department. I think that's the wrong message to give to our children, that we have to have a policeman watching them and making sure they don't kill each other. That's a bad thing to show our children. We don't want them to, I don't want my kids to think that he lives in Hitler school, and I think it's wrong. It's a problem after the problem. You can't solve a problem by creating another one. I think you'll create another one. They'll, especially high school students, where they feel the need to rebel. I did it.
Okay. The next issue that has come up several times in last year, the voters turned down a very specific proposal on a funding issue for the recreational fields. It was a specific plan for a recreational facility, and the voters turned it down. This year, we're being asked to fund $50,000 for basically undisclosed recreational purposes. It would go into a capital fund, so it's not determined at this point how that money would be spent. What I found interesting in looking at the candidate forms in the newspaper is that everyone here supported it, except one person. One person was undecided. And the person that was undecided is the person that's probably considered to be the most experienced in this field. Carlene, why would you be undecided on this issue, and what should we do?
Funny you say that, the reporter went silent. Dead silent. She said, "Did you understand the question?" I said, "Absolutely." There's nobody around here that will support recreation more than I have. I mean, like I said, when I first moved back here, I started with them 16 years ago, driving the bus for them so they could get where they were going. My problem is that I'm also really fiscally responsible. Anybody in town knows that I beg, I borrow, I whine to get things donated for rec, to get things donated for anybody who would need them. We have town land available to us. We worked hard to get that piece of land on Old County Road, deeded recreation, and that is recreational land, it's the bottom piece. The top piece is for recreational purposes. When we have something that is ours, that totals over 50 acres, I have a real hard time going out and spending taxpayer money to buy something different. I put my heart and soul into that proposal for 2 years. I don't know why it failed. It could either be for location, it could be for the grading going down in the front property. So that's why the undecided came in. It wasn't that I would not support it. If the townspeople wanted this, I would absolutely support it and work for it. But myself personally, I feel that we need to be extremely responsible to the town. If we have something that we can use that is town property, that is ours, that is not going to cost us, then go for it. I mean, we're looking at $345,000 2 years ago and last year to put this park in. As everybody knows, things have increased now. I mean, the cost to put a building and the cost to level a surface now is sky high. Let's start with town-owned property. And I'd just like to add one thing, because this has been, talked about. I have probably walked none less than 20 lots. So there's not a lot of town property available, but I think that we need to start and really focus on that first.
Oh, the issue of the Old County Road property, could that have been an issue of timing? I mean, there were a lot of things that people were voting for at the time.
Do I believe that? No, I don't. I believe that last year the people did what they could. I think that the library went through. I think the rec would have gone through. I think there's a reason it didn't. I'm not sure what. Maybe it was timing. I don't know. There's never been anything real clear cut. I will say that I did have people come to me afterwards and say, $345,000 was a lot of money to pay for that land. And I wanted to say, we own the land. So was there a misconception there? I don't know. I don't know. There very well might have been. I know that we did the best that we could having no money. Rec has no money. We're broke. So we could not go out and do anything. So the $50,000 in the second part of your question, that is, when you say an undisclosed, that's for seed money. That's to go out. That's to look for land. That's to do a site plan. That's maybe to do studies, topo, whatever. It's to give the people what they want. Obviously, the people needed more information. So that's what the rec commission is going to do.
Great. Michelle, do you have any thoughts on the $50,000 capital reserve fund for the rec?
Well, I really do support it, and I was very disappointed when that didn't get voted in. And the location was perfect for me because I live right across the street.
That's why they were doing it there.
Right. That's probably why they didn't. And I thought, this is great. I always dread summer vacation because I never know what to do with my kids. And, I get the daily calls, and the second day they're out of school, Mom, I'm bored, what can I do? And I grew up with playgrounds all around me. I mean, that's what I did as a kid, and I don't know what I would have done without it. So I certainly support it, although my kids are older now, and I don't have that issue so much anymore. My daughter has a license, so she can just take them anywhere. I would still support those parents who have young children and have the same issue that I had, while my kids were growing up, and what do you do with them in the summertime? I would certainly support it.
Okay. Bob, do you have any thoughts on the rec capital reserve?
Specifically about the capital reserve funds, or?
Yeah, the capital reserve fund is really, the $50,000 is what we're trying to.
Yeah, I support that article. I think that the Recreation Commission, as in previous years when I supported it, have shown that there is definitely a need for a new facility in the town. Again, I would restate to you that my plan of having a needs assessment of what we need for personnel and facilities would have eliminated this a long time ago, so that we can move forward and know in the future what we need for the population that we have. Obviously, we have a need for that facility. The capital reserve account is something that it's a revolving account. They would have to come back next year and ask for more money in that account if they needed it or if they wanted it. So it's something that is controllable through the townspeople. But they do need to research. I don't know what happened last year. I don't know why it didn't pass. All I can think of is people have said to me, from a planning standpoint, that it had to do with the grading, the road that was going down into the facility, and they were unaware of how much that was going to cost. So this will give them the opportunity to determine how much that would cost. And we can move forward from there.
Great. Linda, what do you think about the $50,000 capital reserve for the rec program?
I believe in capital reserves. I think that that's a good thing. They collect interest and, like Robert over there said, the town has an option to make that decision. The people of the town. I think that the recreation thing kind of failed last year because people were looking at checkbooks, looking at their budget, their taxes like a checkbook. I need this, I don't need this. If I'm gonna vote for something, I'm gonna vote for what I need. More policemen, I don't recall all of them, but I was there with my book. But that's how people vote. We may hear a lot of people talk amongst ourselves and other people we know, but most of the people in the town vote on their budget, just like their checkbook, just like my kid needs shoes, that comes before getting a bowling ball. That's clearly how people vote. That's why I think it missed out.
Okay, Barb, capital reserve fund?
Right. I have a little bit of a disadvantage, or an advantage, I should say. I've been working with Carlene with it for a few years now. I hated to see that we have to do a capital reserve, but when the bond issue came up, there was no money. Carlene and myself and a few others have now developed an impact rec fee to help put some money in so that we have seed money. And that was one of the biggest issues, is that we didn't have seed money. To buy land, I hope we don't have to, and that's what I had said to the reporter. It was not one of those yes or no's, again, because I think that Old County Road can work. We do own it, and I'd rather see us put the money into the fields. But if we have to, or even if we have to land swap, and there's some fees that occur with that, that's why we came up with the capital reserve.
Good. George, what do you think about the capital reserve fund for rec?
Well, it's a good start. This particular warrant article, bar none, I'm going to completely people support it. These are your kids, these are your future, your town. They're going to be the future leaders, and you need to have places for them for recreation. We don't have enough recreation area now. We haven't had for some time. I guess this year we're turning kids away. I hate to see that happen. The capital reserve account will do exactly as everybody prior to me has spoken on. It'll be the fundamental basis to come in front of the voters with exact design plans, exact laid out costs, whether it be buying land, engineering for a particular site, building costs, all the rest of it will be there. That's the start point. Yes, Barbara and Carlene did put together an issue that was picked up at the planning board, of which I'm a member of, as well as Bob is, for impact fees. Impact fees are being assessed to developers to go specifically for that purpose. Please, people, vote for this article, support it, it's your kids, give them a place to be.
Great. Okay, another item that we're going to be looking at this year is the Victims Witness Advocate. Now, that program was a program that was started in town. Basically, it was started because it was funded federally, and there were some state funds in there as well. But as you all know, with all good federal programs, the funding has a sunset, and the sunset is here. So we have to make the hard decision whether we want to fund that position from the coffers of the town, from town taxpayers. The annualized cost of that position will approximate $40,000. So I thought we'd start off with our planning board chairman, candidate Bob Gray. Bob, should we continue that position now that we have to pay for it? It was one of those positions, as long as it's free, we support it, but if we have to step up and pay for it, we don't want to.
Well, I'll tell you, it's easy to not support something and then have something happen to somebody and then saying, well, I wish I had that program into place. I do support that position. It's something that the police chief recommends to the town. Again, I don't think there's any one candidate here that is qualified to make the determination of what the needs for the community is in terms of policing. I do understand that we get support from the county in terms of that position, but Plaistow is a growing population, and it's going to grow in the future more. So I am in support of that position.
Okay. Linda, do you have any thoughts on funding the position of the Witness Advocate Program?
I support that issue also. I support that program. We're always making a decision between ethics and money. There comes a time when you have to make a decision. Do we need this? Is it the right thing? These are issues that I think we get a little messed up with, and I'll always support the ethic issue. I have to say that. People come before the dollar bill for me, and when I'm going to spend the money, if I have to, I will spend it for programs like that.
Robert, what are your thoughts about funding the witness advocate program position?
Well, as we all know, I support the position. It was a question of funding, and it seems we have a history in this town of exactly when there's a federal program, what was happening was all of a sudden that position got rolled into the budget, and it never became a voter issue whether we needed the position or if we could afford it. So last year was the first year that it started to be put out to the voters if they wanted to fully fund it, and that now brought up to the victim witness advocate. The issue that I had with it is funding, and when do you draw the line? We had 4 new positions coming before us, and which one could we let slide by till we can see how to fund it? Then the controversy came, and I don't think it's an ethics issue. It's a hard choice between dollars and cents sometimes. And what came out of it now is, as I asked the police chief and our current victim witness advocate, is there a way to implement a fee? Like when there's a criminal, they pay a restitution. Could there be a victim witness advocate fee? That is now being researched, and there's a very good possibility that we're going to have a fee for that, and that's when I changed and said I will support the program as long as we pursue the funding, and it looks like that's going to go forward, and we get some reimbursement to help relieve the burden to the taxpayer.
Now that fee that you're looking for would be coming from the perpetrator, not the witness.
That's right.
Great. Okay, George, do you have any thoughts on the witness advocate program?
I can only add to Barbara. Initially, I didn't support it. I felt that it was a duplication of services that's being offered by the county through our county taxes. In a presentation from the police department at a selectmen's meeting and letters from the AG's office, it indicated that it could not be fully utilized throughout the county. There just wasn't enough funding, even on a state level, for it. And funding was a problem. I had a real problem with the fact that it was not a Plaistow, because that's our job as selectmen, to look at what we're giving our community and what our community has to pay for it, not what Atkinson, Sandown, Danville, or any other surrounding towns may have to pay. And they're utilizing this service, so I had a problem with that. Now, through the discussions and the outcome, I'm also given to understand that we don't have to, because it's not federally funded anymore, give it to other communities. We probably will, but we can associate a cost with that and make it effective, and costs will then be offset for our community, and yes, the need is there, there's no question of that. It's a funding issue. Sitting in this seat, the only real power or authority any selectman has is over the bottom line, the expenditure of your dollar in your budget. That's really where we're at. We're looking out for your wallet.
Good. Carlene, do you think that we should fund the witness program?
Personally, I do. Again, when it first came forward, I was a little bit leery, and then after hearing the presentations over and over again, being at the budget and the selectmen, yeah, I do personally. But I think one of the important things is not a lot of us are qualified to make the judgments as if we need them or not, and this is definitely a voter issue, and I think it's a responsibility that we have to put it out to the voters, let them decide if they want it or not. It's unfair for me to say no and take it away from the voters' right for them to vote on it. So personally, I do support it, but I more support putting it out for them and let them make the decision, because ultimately it's their money.
Great. Michelle, do you have any thoughts on the witness advocate program?
No, I agree with Carlene that this is a voters issue. However, there's a need there, and I'd like to believe that the police chief feels that there is a need, that it should be funded.
Great. There's another position that I noticed in the town planning book. It's a position for a full-time custodian at the library. The annual cost and benefits for that position will be about $25,000 annualized. George, Melvin's an incumbent selectman and you're a businessman.
Yes.
You've cleaned up a lot of messes in the past, so I thought we'd start with you on the, the custodial one. should we look at adding another person to the payroll, or have we looked at things such as, like a lot of businesses in town hire janitorial services and they say that's more cost effective?
This particular situation, my understanding of it is going to be, a janitorial position will be utilized more than just the library. There are other locations in town where this individual will be employed. I believe some of it may be at the safety complex. But bar none, the library has to have janitorial services. We've seen it, it's a large building. And it's going to take some time, money, and effort to keep it looking beautiful. And when you spend upwards to $3 million to build a building and facilitate it, you've got to take care of it.
Have we looked at outside? I know the city of Manchester, for example, has done
outside
that.
custodial service to come in and clean it. I don't believe we've done that.
Carlene, do you have thoughts? Should we put another person on the payroll, or should we look to outside? We obviously want to keep the library in good shape.
I agree with that. You feel, a lot of money's gone into that, and a lot of time, so obviously you have to maintain it. You don't want to have a building like that and not maintain it, and 5 years down the road, you'll run into, more cost problems. Honestly, I haven't looked into it, other than, watching the library grow, but I think that whoever is here between the library, Board of Trustees and what's going on, and the Selectmen, the Budget Committee, they will ultimately have to do what's best. So I think they would probably put it out. And I would suggest putting it out. I'd suggest looking at a full-time person, putting it out. I'd suggest looking through everything, looking at who we have here too. See what we can use.
Michelle, have you any thoughts on that position?
No, I mean, I can sit here and I can, advocate, all of this funding, this taxpayers' money, because it all sounds like great ideas and things that are definitely needed. We have put a lot of money into the new library, and it obviously is going to need some servicing. I guess I'd have to look at the whole picture. What can we afford? What can't we afford? But not having that high-level picture of the budget, I would say certainly that would be something I would support.
Well, is this the best way to do it, to put another person on the payroll?
Well, certainly hiring an outside service to come in and clean the town is something that should be looked at. Sometimes I found when you hire outside services, though, you don't get as good of a service as you do if you hire internally. Somebody who's loyal to the town, somebody who may come in from an outside service who will do as good of a job as somebody that we have working for the town. But my understanding of this particular position also was that they were going to be utilized at more than just the library. There was going to be utilized the safety complex and possibly even here at Town Hall. So I'm in support of that position also.
Linda, what do you think? Do you think that we should put another person on the payroll to clean up the library?
I don't think we should put another person on until I wouldn't vote to put another person on as a voter in town until I looked at everything. I'd have to see, what an outside contract is going to cost, and will they do the safety complex, town hall, whatever. It's a big scope. If you're gonna hire somebody, you're not gonna hire them for the library, obviously. That's what you say, right? They're not gonna hire him for the library. He's gonna do the safety complex. Then what you have to do is, just like putting out a bid, you have to look at all the issues. Yeah, the library has to be clean, but there are all kinds of avenues you can go through to find the cheapest way and the best way.
Are we micromanaging, or should we just go ahead and hire the person and put them on and get the library clean?
The library, the janitorial position is not just exactly about the library. When you add all of each building that needed maintenance and cleaning, there was only a few hours left to not warrant 2 full-time people. So that's how this all started. And what happened when the warrant article first came, I had a problem that we were fully funding it as a warrant article, yet in the other buildings, including there was an increase at the safety complex and there was a large increase in the library, that it was in both places. So that was the issue that I had. So inevitably, the library has to be cleaned, and the safety complex has to be cleaned, and there's more maintenance here. So that's when the reduction of the warrant article came, because you do have to have it cleaned. To answer about outside services, I have a problem with the landscaping services to see what we spent on landscaping, and it just aggravates me that we spend that much money to have the lawns mowed or raked. I would like to see eventually that we get rid of the landscaping and put that with the maintenance person also, and that's where there can be some reduction. But we
Great.
have to get the person in there first.
Great. Okay, another one is, one of the line items in the budget that I saw is called election registration vital statistics. And what that has to do with is the cost of the election process. In 1999, we spent $67,000 in that line item. In the year 2000, we're budgeting $82,000. Michelle, I was wondering, you're running to bring some new ideas to the Office of Selectmen. Do you have any ideas on how we can make elections more cost-effective and still open up the process?
I don't know what's involved at all in the election process as far as where the budget comes from. I would have to, that would be something that I would just be guessing at.
Okay. Bob, do you have any thoughts on trying to maintain the cost of elections?
Well,
And
Bill,
maybe
you ran
open
for
it up?
Congress, so you know how the election process works, but this year we have more elections than we do in the previous year, so that's going to facilitate the town having to get the facility and paying the moderator more money. But also, having run in elections, I also know how important it is to have machines that can count the votes accurately. And our machines are getting older, and at some point they're going to need to be replaced. And also, we've sat in the town before, I've sat in previous elections, where ballots after 8 o'clock at night when the polls close are still being fed, boxes of ballots are still being fed through one machine. So if the town is growing in size, then you need to look at ways of making voting more accessible and easier for the voters. A way of maybe saving cost in the future I was thinking about is that I know the new library has a meeting room onto the sides of it. I'm under the understanding that the moderator doesn't feel that that room size is adequate enough for voting. From the people that I've talked to, general people out on the street, voters, they feel like it is adequate size to have elections there. So maybe that would be something to look at in the future and to discuss with the town moderator if that would be a facility that we could use to save the town some money.
Great. Linda, do you have any ideas how we can maybe open up the process and keep the costs down? Two conflicting kind of things, but that's what we want to do.
I have no idea how to do that. I'd have to, like I've said before, a lot of these questions you ask, I don't have all the details, the facts to answer any questions, and I would have to look into all of that stuff.
That's fair.
This year's a big election, and we will pay more money, we'll have more people voting too, so.
Barb, do you have any thoughts on that?
Part of there's two issues of the increase of the budget too, and the second part is, we pay Sawyer's $500 each time there's an election. So in a year like a primary and all that, obviously the fee goes up. But I believe it's every 10 years, and don't quote me on the time span. But the voters of the checklist have to go through there, and people who haven't voted over so many amount of time get removed from the voters checklist, or who have moved and things like that. So that's also the increase of the budget. There is the question that of the library, and that was brought when the library was presented. The proposal to vote for it was that voting could be done there. I think there is some issues there that could be looked at. I think the room could be big enough, but there is also state law that so many voting booths and so many cubic feet. But I think that there's enough space that the vote, signing in for the voting could be done outside the meeting room. I think it's doable. I just think it has to be researched a little bit more. But the cost of where we are holding elections right now is $500 each election, and that's a big cost.
Okay. George, do you have any thoughts on that?
There are really not a whole lot. It's a self-governing process, as you're well aware. It takes so many hours to have the polls open, so many people to run the polls based on the amount of people that turn out, and they all have to be paid. no way around it, you're governed by law to do it. Could you cut back on some costs, maybe by holding it in one of the town facilities? Sure. Could we look at possibly access voting through computerization? That's a viable option in the future, which I think you'll probably see someday, but if not in the immediate future.
Great. And Carlene, do you have any thoughts on how we might make it more effective and more efficient, the voting?
Well, we don't have a lot of room for really cutting a lot of the costs because of, you're governed by who has to be there, when they have to be there, what you're doing. We can't change any of that. Voting place, I would love to see if we could be able to have it down in the new library. I think that would also draw more people into the library, and let's utilize the town building. Other than that, the only reason I know that the line item went up is there's more elections this year, and I sat through all the budget things to hear that one. So that's about it.
Great. What we're going to do now is have, as the hour is winding down, I thought we had some good responses to the questions, and people really have gotten a chance to get to know the candidates. We're going to give each of you a chance to do a close, and just keep it to a minute or so, and we'll just wrap it up. And I'm going to start off and read some of what Dale Lafayette had faxed to me. Dale believes that he's qualified to be an effective selectman for the town. Dale's been a lifelong resident of the town. He was born and brought up in town, and he's going to continue to live in town. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree from UMass Lowell, and he was taught by his professors not to only understand the mistakes of his past, but to try to learn from them. Dale served as a veteran of the Operation Desert Storm, and during his military career, he received awards for his performance. He wants to tell everybody, fellow candidates and people in town, that he realizes that he's young and that he doesn't have any political experience, but he's been involved with the town in political ways and ways that haven't been political since he was 8 years old. So he's no stranger to Plaistow, and he wants to thank me for reading this. Hope I did good. And he just wants to thank the candidates and wish you all good luck on March 14th. And that's Dale Lafayette. And we're going to start off with you, Linda, and
Start off with what?
let's just start off with you, Linda, and just tell us why people should come out on March 14th and vote for you.
This is not right. I'm a little nervous here. Okay. Why they should vote for me? I have no personal agenda, except that we should be responsible as a selectman with our monies and ethically responsible to our people. We should listen to them. I have experience in some elections. I can't make any decisions unless I look at all the materials, so I felt a little lost here with the experts over here. But I've served people for a good 12 years and helped them out in the union steward at work, and I'm not a good speaker, but I believe in getting the job done, and I'm not afraid of fighting, and I'm not afraid of standing up. So if they want a person who's just a regular person who goes to work every day and comes home and lives in a town, someone who understands the things they understand, then yeah, I'd like them to vote for me.
Great. Good luck. Barbara, current selectman, you're running for re-election, and why should folks come out and re-elect you?
Thank you. Again, thank you for having us. And I do wish everyone good luck. It's not an easy job. I chose to rerun or re-elect, whatever we want to call it, is because people have asked me to. I have brought issues to the front. Some of them have been controversial, but they've needed to come out. Have I made mistakes? Yes, we've learned from them. It's a growing process. As she said, ordinary person. I was an ordinary person when I started. Am I getting a little better? I think so. I want to continue to work with the rec program. It is a large need. I work with the kids, with Carlene through school and with band, and I still have kids. My youngest is still in the high school level. I will continue to just keep fighting for the people. And I do listen to the people. It may not be some of It may not always be what people want to hear, but there's another side of other people too that's voices need to be heard. Thank you.
Great, good job. George, it's a tough job. You've been doing it for a while. You want to do it again?
Absolutely. This will be my third term if I'm reelected, and I thank Linda for putting me in the category of being an expert.
I thought you were talking about me.
I never considered myself to be an expert. But we do try.
Oh, good news.
It is a tough job. You're always embroiled in controversy one way or another. You have to be. You're opinionated people. What happens out of that is, hopefully, through all of the turmoil, you get the best of the best. And that's what you're there for, to work for other people. That's what I've done. That's what I'll continue to do.
Great. Carlene, you've been involved with a lot of things in town, a lot of volunteer committees, and now you want to take the step to be selectman. Why do you want to do that?
Good question. Like you said, I've been involved a lot. I've been involved with many different organizations, both through the school and here. Worked for the town in different capacities, both on the payroll and as a volunteer. Been in town all my life. I guess how I got involved, to backtrack a little bit with the school, was I sat at home and used to yell at the TV. And if you're going to yell at the TV, you might as well get out and do something about it. I've been on the school budget committee we're trying to figure this out, we think it's like 9 or 10 years. I guess the only thing I can say to the people is I really want to see Plaistow move forward. We have very good town departments. We have extraordinary town departments. Everybody at Town Hall works hard, whether they're a volunteer on a board, whether they're paid on a board, whether they're an employee here. And we need to support them, we need to support all our departments, we need to support our town, and we just need to move forward. We're a good community, and I don't have the answers. I try to not get involved in a lot of things, especially working in here. I'm going to have to look, I'm going to have to dig if I get elected, but I really want to do this, and I want to do this now more than ever.
Great. Michelle, kind of a newcomer to the process a little bit.
Yeah,
So you're excited to get involved? And
Yes, I'm very excited.
why should people want to support you?
Well, something that I have thought of in the past, but being a single mom with a couple of kids, full-time job, and going to school at night, I just never had the time and the opportunity. Kids are getting older, I now have some time that I can give to the community. I'd like to give to the community. For a couple of reasons, I think, I mentioned before, that my greatest strengths are my leadership skills and my ability to develop and maintain good working relationships, which I've learned over my 27 years of working at Lucent Technologies. I can thank them for that, that career for that. But on a personal note, I also believe that giving to the community will promote the personal growth that I'm seeking and be a great experience. So I hope I get the opportunity.
Great, good job. Bob, you're chairman of the planning board, you've been on a bunch of different committees, you run for selectman a bunch of times. Is this time going to be the charm, and why should folks come out and vote for you?
Oh, God, I hope so, Bill. Honestly, there are a lot of people, the people I've talked to that are out there seeking change, and I think that comes up every election year. And I was trying, you try to think, I above anybody else know how important every vote is, and I'm trying to get everybody to vote for me as humanly possible. Get out and vote on March 14th. It's very important. One vote can determine the outcome of an election.
Is that right? One vote could do that?
One vote can determine the outcome of an election. So in order to get people to see change in the town, I got home last night and I was thinking about closing statements tonight, and I was getting a drink of water, and we have a little sign that's up on, a little note from my mother's sister that's up on the refrigerator. It says that we can't continue to do the things that we've done in the past and expect different results. And that is much the same as electing people in the town. We can't continue to vote for the people that we've always voted for and expect things to be different. So I would urge people to get out and vote on the 14th and come and see me at the polls and talk to me, and I'll see you on the 14th.
Great. I want to wish all of you good luck. March 14th, Tuesday is the election. The polls open at 8 and they close at 8. I've run for office in the past, and I know that it takes a lot to get out there and put yourself in front of people. The common complaint that we hear from people is that there's no choice. Well, this year we have a choice. We have 7 candidates, diversity of opinions on a lot of issues. very different backgrounds people bring to the table. I think Plaistow's lucky to have the 7 of you out there, and I hope people show the respect and come out and vote. And we'll see you all on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.